Imagine a world where your 5G phone runs faster, your home internet is more reliable, and your streaming never buffers, even during peak hours. That's exactly the vision AT&T is pushing forward after striking a massive deal with EchoStar. In a transaction worth around $23 billion, AT&T is buying up a big set of wireless spectrum licenses from EchoStar, a move that could reshape the future of connectivity in the United States. This isn't just a typical corporate handshake. This is about building the foundation for the next decade of wireless competition and consumer access. Today, we're breaking down what this means for AT&T, EchoStar, and most importantly, you, the people who rely on fast, reliable, and affordable internet every single day. So, what exactly happened? AT&T announced on Tuesday that it has reached an all-cash deal with EchoStar to purchase licenses for two types of spectrum, the 3.45 GHz mid-band and the 600 MHz low-band. Together, these give AT&T about 50 MHz of prime real estate in the airwaves, covering more than 400 U.S. markets. For those not deep into telecom jargon, think of spectrum as the invisible highway where wireless signals travel. More lanes on that highway mean faster data, fewer dropped calls, and more room for millions of devices to stay connected at once. This deal is all about adding those lanes. Why does this matter so much? Because the fight for spectrum is basically the fight for the future of wireless technology. Mid-band spectrum is considered the sweet spot for 5G. It balances speed and coverage better than almost any other frequency. The low-band spectrum, on the other hand, travels farther and penetrates walls more effectively, making it crucial for rural areas and indoor connectivity. By buying both types in one sweep, now let's talk about the money. AT&T is shelling out around $23 billion for this deal. That's not pocket change. It's one of the biggest spectrum purchases in recent memory, but AT&T clearly sees this as a long-term investment. With the rise of remote work, streaming, smart homes, and connected cars, demand for data is exploding. Spectrum is finite. There's only so much available. So grabbing these licenses while they can is a way for AT&T to stay ahead of rivals like Verizon and T-Mobile, who have also spent billions building up their own 5G networks. EchoStar, on the flip side, isn't exactly walking away empty-handed. This deal doesn't just give them billions of dollars in cash, it also strengthens their long-term wholesale agreement with AT&T. What does that mean? Essentially, EchoStar, through its Boost Mobile brand, will continue offering wireless service to its customers, but it will lean heavily on AT&T's network to deliver coverage. In return, AT&T gets more guaranteed traffic running across its system, creating a win-win situation. EchoStar can act like a hybrid mobile operator without carrying the massive costs of building a network from scratch. EchoStar's CEO, Hamid Akhavan, described the move as putting the company on a solid financial path, allowing it to focus on innovation while still competing in the wireless marketplace. For Boost Mobile customers, this means your service isn't going anywhere. You'll still be connected, thanks to AT&T's backbone, and you'll even retain some access to the T-Mobile network for now. Over time, some of the infrastructure Boost relies on will shift, but the goal is seamless service with no interruptions. That's crucial because no one wants to worry about losing signal just because corporate paperwork changed hands. For AT&T, this deal is also about positioning itself as the go-to connectivity provider across the country. The company has been very vocal about its long-term strategy, investing in valuable wireless and broadband assets. Just last year, AT&T announced its goal of expanding its fiber internet to reach over 50 million locations by the end of 2029. On top of that, it's working to modernize its wireless network with open technology by 2027, paving the way for faster speeds, more reliable connections, and a platform that can support new kinds of products, including AI-driven services. Let's pause for a second and break down why fiber and 5G matter together. Fiber is the wired backbone the high-speed internet lines running directly into homes and businesses. 5G is the wireless front end, delivering those blazing speeds without a cable attached. By investing in both, AT&T is creating a two-pronged approach. The idea is simple. Whether you're working at home or on the go, AT&T wants you connected through its network. Now, what about consumers? For everyday Americans, this deal could translate into stronger signal, fewer dead zones, and more consistent high-speed internet, especially as AT&T puts these new spectrum licenses to work. Rural communities stand to benefit the most from the low-band 600 MHz spectrum, which can stretch across long distances. Meanwhile, urban and suburban users will feel the impact of the 3.45 GHz mid-band spectrum, giving them faster speeds and more reliable service, even when thousands of people are online in the same area. Regulation still plays a role here. Deals of this size don't close overnight. While AT&T expects the transaction to wrap up sometime in 2026, it has to pass through certain regulatory approvals first. The Federal Communications Commission and other agencies will review the details to ensure competition isn't harmed and consumers actually benefit. Until then, AT&T says it plans to deploy some of the newly acquired spectrum as soon as possible, especially since much of it is already compatible with its existing 5G network infrastructure. On Wall Street, the announcement sparked an immediate reaction. Shares of EchoStar soared by an incredible 76% at the opening bell on Tuesday, showing investor excitement about the cash infusion and the streamlined focus on its wireless and satellite businesses. AT&T stock ticked up as well, though more modestly, rising less than 1%. That kind of response highlights how much faith investors have that this spectrum will be a game changer for AT&T in the years ahead, even if the benefits won't fully materialize until the licenses are fully deployed. Another important piece of the puzzle is AT&T's financial outlook. In its most recent earnings report, the company said it expected to realize up to $8 billion in cash tax savings between 2025 and 2027, thanks to provisions in new tax legislation. AT&T also stated that it plans to reinvest about $3.5 billion of those savings directly into its network. In other words, this spectrum deal is part of a much bigger strategy. Take savings, invest in infrastructure, and build a network that can dominate both wireless and broadband markets. Of course, this doesn't mean AT&T won't face challenges. The competition from Verizon and T-Mobile remains fierce. Both have made big investments in their own spectrum holdings, particularly in mid-band frequencies, which power the majority of today's 5G networks. Customers often choose their carrier based on coverage, price, and reliability. So while AT&T is strengthening its hand, it still needs to win people over with great service and affordable plans. But the more spectrum it owns, the better chance it has to deliver those results. It's also worth noting that this deal doesn't affect other EchoStar businesses like Sling TV, Dish Satellite Services, or Hughes Broadband. Those will continue operating as usual. The focus here is very specifically on spectrum, wireless connectivity, and the Boost Mobile brand. That clarity gives EchoStar breathing room to focus on its core services while ensuring Boost customers stay competitive in the prepaid wireless market. For AT&T, it means one less distraction. This purchase is purely about strengthening its network and creating more room for future innovation. So what's the bottom line? AT&T's $23 billion spectrum purchase from EchoStar is a bold, forward-looking move designed to secure its place in the race for 5G dominance. By grabbing both low-band and mid-band licenses, AT&T is preparing to serve more markets, more customers, and more connected devices than ever before. For consumers, the benefits may not show up tomorrow, but over the next few years, this deal could mean faster internet, fewer dropped connections, and more opportunities to stay plugged into an increasingly digital world. This isn't just about corporate strategy. It's about the everyday experiences of millions of people who depend on strong, reliable connectivity.